Speaking of animated features, so J. Michael Straczynski, who has worked on comics like Rising Stars, he has worked on the real Ghostbusters, he has worked on Babylon 5. He has
Murder,
been
She Wrote.
working.
I tried to jump in before you said Babylon 5, but you got to it before the button could press, because that is such an odd one that JMS was involved on Murder, She Wrote. Sorry.
And also Murder, She Wrote. He's been talking about a reboot of this series for quite some time. It is in development hell right now, because of between the sale of WB and a couple of other things that never. Oh, I'm sorry, the CW. It just got stuck for a while, and they're trying to figure out what's going to happen with it. He started teasing another project in the last couple of weeks, and there was speculation as to what this was going to be. And I have to give flowers where flowers are due. So there's discussion in Discord. Jump on the Discord if you'd like to have fun in these debates. Kyle and I were talking about what this project could be, and I was like, well, he did Rising Stars, so maybe it's a comic book. And he was like, well, he also worked on Real Ghostbusters, so maybe it's a cartoon. Kyle turned out to be right. So it turns out that Warner Brothers Home Entertainment and Warner Brothers Animation, they are dropping a Babylon 5 animated movie. No release date or actual movie title or other details are released yet, but he did say that they're going to come out a week from today, which I think is either yesterday or the day before when he made that tweet. When you're listening to this, next week is when he's going to drop more details on this. He described it as classic B5, raucous, heartfelt, nonstop, a ton of fun through time and space, and a love letter to the fans. I'm incredibly excited for this project as someone who loved Babylon 5 growing up. I watched it in conjunction with Deep Space Nine, and I really loved this show. It was a lot of fun. It had a lot of heart. The characters were fantastic. And so as someone who is interested in seeing that story continue and seeing things like Crusade or seeing the Legend of the Rangers not catch fire, and a lot of that had to do with once it left network television and went to TNT, and TNT just didn't really know what to do with this thing. It kind of failed after that. Now getting to see this story continue on in animated form gets me excited again, and I can't wait to see what it actually looks like. So Danny, what do you think?
I got nothing. This was the show that I didn't watch because I was watching Deep Space Nine. We were talking about this just before we started recording, and the only thing I remember about this show is that there's a character that's named after a biscuit in the UK, which is Garibaldi. That's all I remember about it.
Is that why you remember?
Yeah, because it's a biscuit. It's food. I like food. I genuinely think it was a question of, at the time I chose Deep Space Nine, and you gave me a great piece of trivia, I suppose you could call it, about what was happening at that time with those shows. But I was definitely watching Deep Space Nine and not watching Babylon 5. Yeah. Sorry, dude.
Okay.
Yeah, I got nothing. I'm glad you're happy. You're happy, and I hope you live for 10 more years so you can enjoy it.
I got a question for you, Jonesy. What type of animation style are you hoping for? Are you looking for something like Powerhouse? Are you looking for straight Western? Do you want to see something stylistic? Like what are you hoping to see out of this?
All right, so now I got to figure out. Now you're making me want to go look up. I have no idea what Powerhouse is as a reference.
Powerhouse did Castlevania and He-Man from Kevin Smith.
Oh, that would be a fantastic one. So Castlevania would be a good one. I can tell you what I don't want. I don't want something in the style of Clone Wars or Rebels or anything like that. You know what else would be a good one?
What's that?
I'm trying to decide, do I think that would fit the world? Was Arcane. And I'm 50-50 because I don't know how that would look in space, but it's highly stylized. And I just think that it would make it pop a little bit more. So
cool.
Yeah. I think the other thing that gets me excited for this project is the possibility of getting to see how something like Crusade would end. And it made me wish that creators, when projects didn't take off, or for lack of a better word, fail, that they would look to other medium to try to get that story out to fans who supported it. So like, be it turn to a novel, turn to a comic book, turn to animation, give me something that at least allows me to finish this story. That's always been one of my biggest complaints about the industry, but I'm glad he's getting a second bite at the apple, maybe, but at least with this animated feature, we'll get something. It's the best I got.
Do you think it's going to be, I mean, do you think, Stroke, would you like it to be something that is purely a continuation of what you remember, or something that is accessible for someone like me, or completely new to the show? Because you mentioned a couple of things there that obviously I have no idea about, these storylines or these characters or whatever they were. Would you like to see that as the whole of what he's releasing, or would you be happy if they covered some old ground just to bring people like me back into the fold?
I mean, as an animated feature,
yeah,
I think it is. You know what? I can't imagine that Warner Brothers would let him make this unless there was something that would at least attract other folks.
Sure.
My preference would be like, just make it a love letter to the fans. Like, and okay, I don't necessarily need it to be accessible to folks who don't remember a lot of stuff. But the biggest problem with that, though, is unless you're continuously watching these things or remember, a show that's at this point 25, 30 years old, even someone like me might go, wait, what was that? Should I remember that? So
yeah,
it at least on some level has to be able to catch someone like me up who watched every episode of that show a few times. So
well, because there's the rub right there. I mean, I won't watch it when it comes out. You will, but based on what you tell me about it, I might well catch up with it afterwards. And I think that could be the key to driving the numbers, right? Is to get the hardcore fans like you that are definitely going to jump in on opening day, so to speak. But it's going to have enough good word of mouth and stuff to be able to get other people involved, right? So I hope that's the case, because I'm all, and especially if it is an animation style that I too quite like, would want to watch. And I did like when you said Arcane, I was remembering watching that, and I did enjoy that kind of style. So I'd be up for that too if it was in that style, for sure.
Yeah. And the other thing that the last thing I'll say about it is he did post a picture of himself and Bruce Boxleitner, who was the star of the original series. So at least from that perspective, we're getting, it's not entirely new, but the sad thing about it is the significant portion of that cast is dead, sadly. So like, I was looking at, I think it's the season 4 cover of the DVDs, and the only person that is alive is him, Bruce Boxleitner. Wow. And it's just like, oh man, that's depressing. So yeah, it's a good way to leave it.
Yeah, depressing. We started off on such a high, and now we leave it depressed. Thanks.
Now we leave it depressed. But I think we can leave the show there. You got anything else to say about anything?